Welcome back to the Wargaming Den. This week I've got another battle against Gordon's Undead. This time the scenario we will be playing is pillage. Right, let's have a look at my army list tonight. I've made a couple of minor changes, nothing too drastic. I've got 2 regiments of warriors, a warrior chariot regiment, the boomer chariot troop, which gives me the stealth, 2 siege breaker hordes, a shooter horde, Manny the mammoth with the big deal, a warlock with drain life, 2 boomer sergeants, and nom nom. So 12 units, 20 unit strength. Now Gordon's list hasn't changed from our last game. It's still the character heavy undead horde. He's got the regiment of skeleton warriors and a horde of warriors. He's got a regiment and a horde of spearmen, the zombie trolls, a horde of ghouls, a ghoulghast, a necromancer, 2 lich kings, a cursed pharaoh, and Zunok. So he's got 12 units, 19 unit strength, but lots of spellcasters and characters. Right, let's have a look at the tabletop. Gordon's used the Dwarven terrain generator, as he usually does. It's got difficult going a pond here, passable tower, forest, hill, wall, building, again impassable. More difficult going. This hill blocks most of the line of sight in the centre. We've got another forest and a wall in front of it. We've got the 5 objectives you can see. There's one just out of sight just over here. There's another one just out of sight over here. I've decided to ignore these 2 over here. And I decided I wanted to try and win these ones, but by not actually engaging till about turn 5 or 6. I wanted to try and deal with a couple of his nasty spellcasters, hold where I could along here, and just try and counterattack later in the game and try and get the objective that way. I figured I had enough units over this side. These sergeant and warrior were really just there to screen my flank. I didn't actually want to go after those objectives at all, but as it turned out, maybe not the best plan. And here we have a couple of Gordon's units deployed on the far flank. He's got the 2 hordes here. We've got the skeleton spearmen. Very cool diorama is being built here. There's a destroyed organ gun carrying human. That's the regular skeletons over there. Zombie trolls behind them. There's a couple of characters lurking at the back as well. You can just make out Zunok, and there's a couple of other characters back here as well. And another view of my army. So I've got the siege breakers here and also here. They're supported by the warlock, warriors in front of them, shooters, and then the chariots pass that, and then our little screaming force. As it turned out, wasn't really impressed with the sergeant. I'm not sure I'll give him another go, but we will see how he goes later in the game. On to turn 1. I went first in this one. As you can see, I've just moved forward a bit. I've got my chariot regiment here. Boomers went forward onto the hill. Got a boomer sergeant here nearby. Got Nom Nom, Manny, and I'm just holding my other flank over here. So I didn't do anything extravagant, just a bit of a gentle advance in the centre and holding on the flanks.
Looks like we're not going to use that back corner, so I'll put the floodlight up. So.
Gordon's turn. He advanced his ghouls and the ghoulghast and his lich king, and the skeletons are heading towards the objective, which is just over this way. Right, turns 2 and 3. You can see I've got the regiment of chariots have pushed way forward past the hill now. Shooters are still holding. Many in the siege breakers. Got the warriors screening. They've taken some damage from the spellcasters. I've got my warlock trying to snipe at the spellcasters and the siege breakers. Gordon's been using his spells pretty effectively so far. I've just really not been concentrating my fire at all. Haven't really had the targets I've wanted, and I've been wanting to try and concentrate on knocking out a spellcaster or two. Being individuals, difficult going and stuff, was really probably not the most sensible strategy as it turned out. I wasn't able to deal enough damage. They had regeneration and stuff, and also they were using their spells to lock down Nom Nom as well. So his spellcasters were much more effective than my two, and I ended up not doing so well in this combat. But as you can see, Gordon's just holding here. The objectives are in front of his troops. I was actually thinking of the same thing. I just really wanted to hold this section. And hindsight, the fact that I had the siege breakers there and many, I really should have just taken the battle to the skeletons, smashed a horde or two, knocked out some unit strength, and then dealt with the zombie trolls later on. My strategy of just holding and not engaging actually was probably what Gordon appreciated, because he was able to just use his spellcasters while concentrating on the other side. So it really was, as it turned out, quite a flawed plan. And just another view. Okay, you can see my troops in the background. I've now got the boomer sergeant and the boomer chariots on the hill. They were trying to snipe at characters unsuccessfully, as it turned out. Gordon's just holding. He's using his spellcasters to cast a range of effective spells, and they can see my troops because ogres are taller than skeletons. Probably another pivotal turn here. As you can see, my chariots, I turn them to line up the ghouls on the hill, and also move the shooters to shoot at them, and the boomer chariots. Decided to kind of switch my focus, mainly because Gordon was using his spellcasters to shut down my shooting using the Veil of Shadows, I think it is, that creates stealth. So I was really struggling. I thought, if I can kill the ghouls, things would be sweet. As it turns out, though, I decided to put too much faith in the shooting. I really should have sent in these chariots at the ghouls, and maybe supported by the boomer chariots or even the sergeant. I caused quite a few wounds. Probably should have wavered them or knocked them out. As it turned out, I hesitated around too long because I thought my shooting would deal with it. The reason it was a turn too long, skeletons charged up here, dealt with my boomer sergeant, and then repositioned to be facing the rear of my chariots, which was not good. Over here, we're still holding. Gordon's still holding. It's a bit of a phony war, really. But it's a phony war playing into Gordon's hand. Again, the spellcasters are being very effective. The zombie trolls have moved up to cover the gap where the skeletons have gone forward. They've dealt with the boomer now. They're facing this way towards Manny. Very cunning Gordon, because I was focusing on here, forgetting about that. Let's just about face and stealth into the back of the chariots that I was about to face. I've lost the warriors to combination of shooting from these from these spellcasters here and here, and then it's the Pharaoh there. So he's got quite a lot of powerful characters on this side of the table, has Gordon, much to my chagrin. At this point, things weren't, as far as I was concerned, looking too bad. I've got the warriors engaging with the skeletons, the sergeant still shooting at the ghouls, the boomers shooting at the ghouls, and so are the shooters. So I decided that all these units here shooting at these guys, I had more than enough shooting. I'll just shoot them off the table. These guys can just stop and then charge something the next turn. As it turns out, they probably should have at least about face, because these skeletons were about to ruin their day. The other option I'd had, instead of actually going in here and turning towards the ghouls, was originally I was going to swing around behind. But then I thought, no, if I put them to support the sergeant, I should actually have enough strength to actually make a difference over there. But again, of the two choices, I'm not sure it was the right one, is the way things ended up unfolding. So in Gordon's turn, skeletons did a 180 about face, and then all they had to do was a couple of surges and bang, straight into the back of my chariots. Something like 75 dice. The chariots didn't really stand a chance. So that was the second unit that the skeletons took out. So much for underestimating skeletons. I'd be happy with this grind in normal circumstances. My warriors, 9 attacks, hitting on 3s against the and defense 5 against these skeleton warriors that probably hit on 5s, need 5s to wound. Should be a doddle. As you can see, I only took 2 wounds in the first round. Unfortunately, this little guy here, the Ghoul Ghast, public enemy number 1 as far as I'm concerned, had other plans. See this dice here? This one here with the 5, that's 5 extra attacks from the, is it the Hound of Shadows, Shadow Hound spell that had been cast to boost his combat potential. This Ghoul Ghast is annoying usually, but add the extra attacks and he just becomes downright vicious. Each round he got 4, 5 or 6 extra attacks, and he just became a combat machine. So well played there, Gordon. Good choice of spells, and really made things difficult for my army. That's not what we wanted to see. Skeletons into the rear of the chariots. The chariots are toast. Not only that, but the ghasts here have just charged and destroyed the boomer chariots as well. So even though they've taken quite a few wounds, the ghouls, they are still causing havoc. Really just leaves me with my sergeant here and my warriors over here trying to hold that flank. And my army was starting to fall to pieces. Either the army was or the general was. I'm not sure which it was. On to turn 5. Can I actually save anything in this debacle? As you can see, we've still got the skeleton warriors here, having cleaned up the chariots with their accompanying pharaoh. My shooters can't see them now, but they're behind the hill. I'm still basically just holding, thinking on turn 5 and 6 I'll advance and take these units. A couple of things I didn't do. 1. I forgot that skeletons only move 10 inches. Well, sure, they surge, But for some reason, I'd thought that they had a 6-inch move just same as my ogres. So that was a bit of a dumb thing. I could have kept moving forward. Actually holding over here as long as I did actually just kept playing to Gordon's strengths. His spellcasters started using a whole range of spells, nibbling away at my troops. What I really needed to do was actually engage here, or engage here, and knock out some of these units. It was about now I've counted up the unit strength and actually realised that I was being outnumbered over here, and that Gordon was just whittling away with his spells. I think I was a bit worried about his spellcasters because how effective they were at the end of our last game, and my hope had been that my warlock and Nom Nom would be able to knock out one spellcaster. If they're supported by the shooters, maybe a boomer sergeant, I should get one. That was my thoughts going into the game, but as it turned out, I didn't actually get any of them. So probably not the smartest move. I should have utilised the strength of the ogres, which is getting stuck in against the lesser skeletons. Sure, there could have been opportunities for flanking, but if I'd actually pushed forward more aggressively, I think I would have had a better outcome. Okay, the warriors here have been wavered by the skeletons in the ghoul. I've thrown the sergeant in to try and deal with the ghoul ghast. He did a few wounds, but not enough. The Lich King over here he's still just casting spells to support his troops, and they're just chewing me up actually on this flank. Again, I just moved Manny a wee bit to cover these skeletons. Siege breakers, they're still just sitting around. What a waste of points in retrospect. I really should have just been smashing into these skeletons to knock out the unit strength and then try and deal with the spellcasters. Completely inappropriate strategy by me, as it turned out. Similar view to the last one. What's about to happen though is the skeletons here about to surge onto the hill, and then I'll move onto the hill and then surge into the shooters, and they deal with yet another of my units. Those skeletons had a really good game. They shouldn't have been as effective as they were, but I didn't deal with them, and Gordon just kept attacking with them, which was the right thing to do. And here we go. The skeletons have indeed attacked the shooters, and are about to rout them as well. My sergeant has got ghouls behind him, skeletons in the front, and a ghoul ghast who's an individual so can turn and charge whatever he wants. Things are not really looking good at all over there. I think it's time I ignored. Too little too late. Threw the siege breakers in. Combination of surges and normal movement. They get themselves flanked by a horde of spearmen, and also they have the regular regiment in the front. I didn't do enough wounds to deal with the regiment and then paid the price, but too little too late. I should have thrown the siege breakers in a couple of turns earlier. Likewise, many charged the zombie trolls, and a bit of an inconsequential fight took place. Neither of us won it, but it did mean that Gordon was able to claim the majority of the objectives. And that was it. I got trounced, really. I played the completely wrong game for the opponent. I underestimated Surge. I let the spellcasters get on top of me and didn't actually take it to the lesser units and try and knock out some of Gordon's unit strength. Gordon didn't do anything wrong. It was probably turn 2 or 3 where I was indecisive with my chariots. For me, I think that was the deciding point for my particular army anyway, because by holding back my chariots when I should have thrown them in, I could have probably overwhelmed those Gauls with average dice rolling. They were already wounded, and then taken an objective or two, hopefully over on that far side. But because I dilly-dallied, I let the skeletons surge into me, and I got rolled up from then. I didn't actually kill a single unit. First time playing Flames of War, I didn't kill, Kings of War, I didn't kill a unit at all. Wounded a couple, didn't concentrate my shooting enough, and really got completely outclassed and outplayed by Gordon. So Gordon, well played. You're using that army very effectively. I do need to ponder a bit more how to deal with those spellcasters. Last game, it was the fact that they were individuals and nimble and running around my army in circles frustrated the hell out of me. So I thought I'd try and take them on with my spellcasters, but actually my spellcasters and shooting weren't up to the job. I should have got stuck in hand to hand a lot sooner, as you pointed out after the game, as it so happens. But enjoyed the game, definitely a learning experience, and I will take quite a few lessons learned from that one into the next game. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the battle report, and I will hope to have another one posted and published soon. Ka kite anō.